members. And I think the death of NASA has just been confirmed here by Richard Onyoka. And he was so categorical to the point that he even mentioned Moses Mudavadi to be the leader of his party. And I know Moses Mudavadi is normal. But anyway, that's on a light note. Yeah. So let me say this, that BBI requires statesmen, people who rise above the 2022 politics. But now what we saw in Bukungu and Bumias, tear gas and all of that, I don't think it speaks to the intention of the BBI, because I think therefore BBI is laced with political intention. And people must be vanquished, and others must be winners, and others must be losers. I don't think it's going to go that way. We'll have a very good technical report, because the technical people seem to do a very good job. In fact, if you look at the 157 pages, they are very good at diagnosing the problem. But then the solution seems to be political. It cannot be encapsulated by the position of Prime Minister. Now that then it has, I said food has been returned back to the kitchen, because maybe some of the ingredients are lacking. So it's really political dishonesty. It's just like akin to what you saw in the ICC prayers. Those were not prayers. Those were political mobilization strategies. So let's not lie to each other. It is an us versus them. There is a BBI team. And now Ruto is on his own with his allies. The others are going on around. I'm sure we'll also see a counter schedule. You know, this schedule that has been produced, and I have seen it on my phone. We see a counter schedule, so that then it will now be campaign mode for the next 2 or so years. And that's really unfortunate for Kenyans. Because eventually, whether it will culminate into a referendum or not, it is just about political mobilization. So I think we've lost it as a country. Because you cannot have a situation where you are supposed to bring people together and you're dividing people. Mm-hmm. I think at some point when the BBI the report came out, everybody supported it. So really, now the rhetoric I'm hearing on TV and radio from either of the sides, it's very adversarial. It's not cordial. So I think that dishonesty, and I think Richard Onyoka said it, if you're in politics, you must be ready to be betrayed. I think it is the food. That is what keeps you going. So these issues of betrayal, sometimes when I look at the ASTRA and NASA allies, how they cozy up to Raila Odinga after they have said very strong words against him, I see the fact that people also agree that there is a pecking order, that eventually somebody can get away with whatever they are able to do. Sometimes that's what I think. Because if you are consistent, you should not be in the same, whatever. And there, as you can see, now Raila Odinga is really government. In fact, I think he's looking like the right-hand person of Uhuru Kenyatta. We live in very, very, very awkward moments, Debal.
Interesting.
Mount Kenya region now looks like it's in the opposition. Alice is here, she can tell us, going by her sentiments. Now the Luo nation has got two very strong, powerful ministers, education and foreign affairs. In government, I'm telling you. So, we are living in very awkward moments. And of course, Richard Onyoka is very happy because of where Matiang'i is.
And we just need also to look at what you actually said. In politics also expect betrayal. Looking at a splash that we have on the front page of the Star, do you think, Herman Manyora, that the Deputy President is being betrayed as far as BBI is concerned? It says Ruto isolated as BBI gathers team.
I think
what is your assessment?
I think we don't need to wait for the answers. The answers were right there in Kakamega on Saturday at Bukungu Stadium. Complete. You don't look for anything else. First of all, we must understand what BBI is. BBI is like 3 or more things. Let's talk about the first 3. BBI is an idea that was birthed by the handshake. BBI is also what some people are saying should be taking place, which is looking at the issues, the content of the report. But BBI is also politics. And BBI is 2022. So those who want this BBI thing to be played as if it is not politics are actually being naive. Because it is politics. And the strategy here now is to ensure that all the leading lights across the country are with BBI. So if you looked at Kakamega, it got to a point where if you are anybody in Western Kenya, in Western Province, if you are anybody from the Luya Nation, and you are not where Tuoli was with Oparanya and Raila, your space was already taken. So you expect to see this, and finally, and it not be even very long from now. And I've said it before, all the big names from across the country. You are talking about Kalonzo Musyoka from Ukambani. You are talking about the Mudavadis, the Wetangulas from Western, or Paranya. You can go on and on and on. Except perhaps, not perhaps, except for the Rift Valley province. All these big names will end up being with BBI and the handshake. That leaves Ruto, you can call it isolation if you wish, but that then leaves Ruto with only the smaller or junior politicians. Those are the people he will work with. But the big ones will all have gone. So yes, he's being isolated to some extent, and it was very clear in Kakamega on Saturday that if you are not with BBI, across the country, you'll find yourself really out of place. You'll have to be with them. Mm-hmm. And I told you was right. I mean, it was not right. He said it. He said, you are either with BBI or the other side. And that is how politics is always played. Politics succeeds when there is a dominant group, and it becomes dominant by isolating the other group and demonizing it. So, right, Isaac Mwaura, us versus them, is not a very good thing for a country. Because the country must be together.
All right.
But politics is played along those lines.
But just a moment. But just going by the recent headlines that we've seen, Richard Onyonka, from the Sunday Nation, that was the last weekend, not this past weekend, where Ruto was locked out of his official residence. This was in Mombasa. We also saw in the Standard as well that he had some difficulty getting into Sudan, where he wanted to go and benchmark on the chicken business that he's rearing actually a chicken, but that was also frustrated as well. And it's not really a laughing matter because I'm given to understand that chicken business is really raking in good money for Deputy President William Ruto, right? And maybe that one will also allay some of the bugbears and fears that we're wondering where is he getting his money as far as donation in churches is concerned. I think also sources tell me that at least even in a day he can rake in 300 million from that particular business, right?
300 million. Dibal, I don't have the facts. I don't know whether the deputy president...
Is that comedy?
Yeah, I don't think there's a business where you make a profit of 300 million. But that's something I cannot verify because
the number of eggs.
I don't have
the number of eggs. The number of eggs. Yeah. Okay, let him just continue.
All right.
300 million eggs.
No, he mentioned, but I don't have the facts.
Yeah.
I don't know why the DP went to Sudan. I don't know whether he was actually locked out in Mombasa. But let me say this for me. Dibal, it's scary that when you wake up in the morning, in our country, what you read in the newspaper, you will hardly see something that makes you feel good as a Kenyan. Something discovered by a Kenyan or something major done, like the iNews thing, which our marathon guy did. And the reason is that we are so into these political flares. We are into so much of this hate thing. And this is why I really subscribe to what Professor Nyang' Nyong'o has said. I think as a country, we need to sometimes sit and take stock. We need to sit back and look at where we've been as a country, where we are right now, and where we are headed. Even when I belong to the group which is supporting BBI, I really feel that something needs to be done to bring the other side onto the table. I don't know whether we are inherently incompatible. I don't think that is the case. And sometimes in politics, you need to allow the other side, which may not be with you, to actually have a rethink on what they feel, and you encourage them to. That's why in Kakamega, Musalia coming and Weta coming gave that function a bigger impression to the national psyche. Number two, even when I've said what I've said, I've always said that the deputy president needs to look at his strategy in terms of his engagement with the president, his engagement with Raila. I believe that politics is never do or die. I believe that there's a way that the deputy president can actually, either through back channels or through an engagement with his friends, who are also sometimes friends of Raila, or sometimes friends of the president. There are times when we need a certain subtle quietness in our country, where the leaders, it is seen that they are together, where we actually don't have to go for the overkill. And my feeling right now is, yes, it looks like Deputy President may be being sidelined. He may be put between a rock and a hard place. I think, to me, because of some of his miscalculations and some of the strategies which the other side has laid against him. But I think we can have a win-win. We don't have to have a winner takes it all and the loser goes sulking and making noise wherever they want to go. I think given the goodness of BBI, we are going to increase revenue allocation to the county governments. I think the Deputy President and his team have said we really think we can expand the executive, which is a very good idea. And if we can pick the positive things which are BBI and bring them and agree on them and move forward, I think our country will become the better.
Yes.
The mouth is still his. But I want to draw your attention to the editorial in the Standard today.
Yes.
If you look at that editorial, I'll read the paragraph beginning, though the BBI report, okay? That paragraph says, it is on page 14 of the Standard.
Yes.
On page 14 of the Standard. That paragraph says, though the BBI report is a fairly decent document, it harbors many shortcomings and offers mundane, tired, and tested solutions. It does not propose the radical departure from the norm that people envisaged, hence the need for further consultations. In the end, it scattered the issues that are a drag to growth and prosperity, denying the country a chance for a clean break from the past. For example, we had hoped that this would include reforms that would shake up the economy and evenly spread the prosperity pie, making the rise up social classes easier and with enough effort guaranteed. I don't understand what that means, but anyway, I can guess what they mean. Now, what I say is that this is the kind of thing we need. Get the BBI report, read it, and let us see the way forward. And I think what the BBI team also realized was that the best thing to do is subject this report to public discussion in the public domain so that they can see issues like this can come up.
Yes.
It's rallies and things like that make newspapers begin digging deep into things. Make a forum like this one also begin talking. So I'd rather we go that direction. It's much more constructive. But the second thing I want to say, Debal, which is something I've been concerned with, looking at politics globally. You know, I think we live at times of crisis and uncertainty everywhere. If you look at the US. In fact, if you read the US papers, they're even more political than ours.
Yes.
If you read the British papers, the Guardian, the Times, whatever, they are full of fire and brimstone against the Brexiters, why we made this decision, whatnot. So, and if you go to Russia today, you know, where Putin has just decided to get a taxman as his premier, and getting out Medvedev, but Medvedev is an extremely seasoned politician. It means that this crisis of uncertainty is everywhere. And in Congress, they're trying to look for a solution by impeaching Trump. Yes. In Russia, Putin is trying to look at the constitution, to put a new prime minister. And in Britain, even now, the date for doing the Brexit is uncertain. There's a lot of uncertainty and crisis. We too have that crisis and uncertainty. Now, Raila and Uhuru, the biggest uncertainty was that one. Two presidents in one republic, one in State House, one with the people in Uhuru Park. Rebellion all the time. It was going to be very difficult. And so they shook hands and said, let's find a solution to these problems. Now, so there's an ongoing process of finding a solution. Of course, political risk of holding rallies is that now you begin emphasizing the political side of it. Why are these rallies being held? Why are these people speaking against me? And so on. But let us remain sober the way the Standard editorial is bringing it. And know that we're living at times of crisis and uncertainty. And if you're coming forward to offer a solution, please address that crisis and uncertainty. Because if you can't do it, and also just politicking is not helpful to us. Yeah.
All right, Alice, we had pronouncements also from Raila making it very, very crystal that him and Uhuru Kenyatta, they are not seeking any position as far as BBI is concerned. That is not going to, get for that position of the president as it is right now. Does that sort of pronouncement also offers some, pacification for you, so to speak?
Going by even the statements from the speakers before me on this table,
yes,
they are saying that politics is deceit, people betray, people say this and do the opposite. And I just wanted to pick from where Professor Nyang' Nyong'o started, because he read, I think, page column 2. He picked from paragraph column 2, but in column 1 of that page 14, it says the last paragraph. The last paragraph. It says, yet going by the events of last few months, it is easy to conclude that BBI is a poisoned chalice. It seems to be achieving the direct opposite of what its architects, that's Uhuru, of course, and Raila, sought to correct by creating divisiveness and rancorous politicking, though agreeing in principle that reforms are needed to reduce the premium attached to a political leadership and to ensure a more inclusive society. It is a shame that politicians seem to disagree on whose truth the people ought to believe. Obviously, Kenyans now, after Saturday, are left more confused, more divided than they were. I don't think I want to believe what Raila has said, because initially, if the BBI has now become a formation, not a document for Kenyans, it has become a formation for them. And you see, he was in that meeting, and somebody like Atwori makes statements that can be interpreted, in the most obvious manner, that it is them versus us. Then they should actually stop, retreat strategically, and evaluate where they are headed with the BBI. And I say that with and because even His Excellency the President severally has said that he's actually not interested in 2022 positions. When you look around the environment, when you look at the effort put to disrupt the other meeting in Kakamega, when you look at the effort that in Mumias must fail, when you look at the effort that Matiang'i and his groups are putting to disrupt, to actually ensure that they use force in areas that they don't need to use force. And of course, we have the president looking at all these things. It is possible to read differently from what the two leaders are speaking. And people change positions in politics. It is possible that this mobilization is meant to give them an upper hand, is meant to, and you hear a professor, he's a professor almost of politics, he understands this thing very well. He's saying if you're looking for order, if you're looking for legal mechanisms, if you're looking for a proper way of engaging Kenyans, then you are lost and you are naive. And that's why maybe myself and many Kenyans, we are naive when we are saying this is not how you engage Kenyans, this is not how you amend a constitution, this is not how you bring reform by starting off by beating up people, by stopping their meetings. You start reform by coming up with a clear legal mechanism. And I will not leave this point. Clear legal mechanism that says, this is the report. We have now translated the report into a legal document that will give clear, methodology, clear route or roadmap where Kenyans can now read, engage the report, and also have public participation. We are being told that what is happening in these campaigns is public participation. No, this is political campaigns. Public participation for a legal document is what starts through the committee. We have the technical committees who are divorced from politics, who should divorce. In fact, Haji should come out clearly and dissociate his committee with this madness, because if he doesn't, he will be confused and he will not be taken seriously by Kenyans. I doubt then, where is he in all this? This is part of it. What legal document is he using to actually then prepare Kenyans for civic and
Allow me
voter
to pick the
and
brains of,
voter
Isaac.
education. Thank you, Dibar. Yeah.
Isaac.
Yes, thank you, Debal. Now, you know,
Yeah, don't,
okay.
I don't think I should be quoted.
Okay, 3 million. Let's say 3 million eggs per day. About 10 shillings per an egg is about 30 million. If you are to do per month is 900 million, and we are to do a year, you are talking about 10.8 billion. You know, that's a lot of money. I mean, it is roaring business. I think there's a lot of acumen here that needs to be investigated.
But you know,
No, I'm just trying to give examples.
eggs make 20%.
No, just a moment.
Yeah.
Because there's a whole story around the egg,
Yeah. So
the
what?
egg saga, and why he had to go to South Sudan to benchmark.
Yeah, that's the point. I'm
Yes.
coming to the bar.
Make it 10 million per
So actually, this is a lot of money, and I think Kenyans who are suffering in terms of business need to also learn this acumen. But I've seen the Ruto camp is doing very well in terms of seeking political sympathy. So they being blocked in South Sudan,
Rwanda.
they are
Now,
not
we will
accessing
look
house
at,
in
And
Mombasa. Remember the BBI locking out?
Thank you,
when
Debal.
there were
Now,
consultations, we saw the video. And now also, the other day, the president, the deputy president saying bye to president and not being greeted or something. So there's a sympathy, strategy, and it is working, by the way, let me tell you. It is actually working. And so when people are talking about people playing into their hands, this is something that is very interesting. On the BBI, there are 3 types of people in this whole issue of BBI. The Larry Matthews, the older citizens who are in part of that.
So no. Before you even go, I want to just hover a bit on the sympathy thing that actually you're raising. So you think this is particularly intent? Maybe
Yes,
the
it
splashes
is.
that we have on the dailies, so that it can actually draw some sympathy
It
for
is doing very well.
Sort
In
of,
fact,
they are playing a reverse psychology
Yeah.
with Kenyans.
Yeah. In fact, it's working very well. Before Richard, you come in. It's working very well because if you look at even the clips, they're about 30 seconds. Very targeted in terms of the behavior and the body language. But moving forward, in terms of BBI, the you have 3 types of people in the BBI discourse: missionaries, mercenaries, and misfits. Now, the missionaries are the do-gooders. These people who are old and they want to change the country. They are there, trapped in there, to give their vision. And the Hajis, the Lawi Matthews, the Bishop Jengas, those ones are very good, and they can be credited for the value of the report. Then there are mercenaries. These are people who are coming here to. You saw that animal that you showed on
The cow.
Yeah, the cow.
Yes.
Ready for slaughter. Those are the mercenaries. They are waiting for political capital. Then there are the misfits.
No, first of all, tell
Who are
us.
the mercenaries?
People.
Who are the mercenaries?
The mercenaries are the political entrepreneurs who are trying to cash in on the mileage out of
The
these
others you
politics.
named. So
And then we have people who are promoting their political parties and the agenda. Now, then there are the misfits. The misfits are people who are lost in between. They don't know what is happening. Ni kwenda this way, that way. That way. That is the problem of the BBI. Yeah, the political dishonest.
I think
Is it Onyonka or Haman?
I think
It's Haman. We'll come to you.
yeah.
I think we can understand this thing if we approach it in a very simple way. First, if you have a very good idea that can even change society and you want to implement it, there will be people who will oppose it. Sometimes you face them even violently, as it happened in Russia. Because you have a good thing you want to implement, but there are people standing in the way. There are extreme examples like Russia, Jerry Lawrence, and so on, but others are less violent. Now, BBI, or the handshake, is an earth-shaking thing. This thing is going to shape this country for generations to come. It's a kind of revolution. And when you have something of this monumental proportion in society, definitely there will be losers. There will be casualties. There will be victims. This is a very natural way of things. That's how things happen.
politics.
So you cannot implement BBI, however noble it is, without casualties. There will be casualties. The first casualty of the handshake, in my thinking, was William Ruto, who, for all intents and purposes, was assured of the presidency until 9th of March happened. Nobody would have beaten him. I have a lot of respect for Raila, but I don't think we even have beaten Ruto in 2022 without the handshake. So you can see him as the first victim. and is trying to sort himself.
So Raila is on the ballot now.
So I will be shocked if he's not.
And he's
I will be surprised. But you know, Raila is a statesman. He may not be there.
Yeah.
You know, and Raila is not a man you can understand very easily.
That so many times.
So he can be there, he may not be there, but whoever Raila and Uhuru will appoint, if it's not Raila, will give Ruto a run for his money. And that's how you have to understand this BBI. Because I've said this finally the bar. There must be very good ideas in the BBI. I believe in the idea of BBI myself and the handshake. Because this country needs to be, we need to fix some issues in this country. Otherwise, we will be in perpetual problems. For this good BBI cannot be implemented, and I've said here before, Alice, without the group fronting it having political power. You cannot implement something of this proportion without you having political power. So the BBI team, that now explains the rallies and everything else. They need political power after 22 to implement the BBI. Right. And they will get it, perhaps.
Okay, let's say from Richard Onyonka, we wind up on the BBI a bit.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'll be very, very quick, Nibal. I wanted to tell my sister, Alice, that every time I hear her speak, she always runs Matiang'i's name, Kibicho's name. By the way, it is Uhuru you are talking about. Anytime you are criticizing, I'll give you an example why I've raised those two names. A meeting is called to Bukungu Stadium.
Can you drag
This
Uhuru
meeting
into
is
Bukungu?
this meeting is for calling the leadership in Western to come to Bukungu to discuss and deliberate and publicly state what the BBI stands for. That's if it matters to some people. Immediately, the Tangatanga Brigade, my brother Wasiali, who I used to be with in ODM, crosses over, and his team and everybody. Of course, he creates his own disappearance act. He blames the police, expecting to raise a lot of noise in Western so that the Bukungu meeting ends up, and then he comes and says, I was in Kisumu hiding. Amazing stuff. The sympathy, yes. The only people actually right now, I wanted to say to my sister and to anybody who would care to listen, the people who are sympathizing with what is happening to William Samoei Ruto are his supporters and those ones who are going to vote for him anyway. Most of the people who have no business with William are actually very happy because they are saying he has opposed this BBI discussion. He has opposed everything pertaining to this issue from its inception until right now. And he has refused to even give it a semblance of saying, yes, we can. Sometimes you seem kind of coming in and saying, oh, we can have a give and take. I don't think, these days you realize it doesn't really throw epithets and insults to Raila, but you'll wake up one morning and it's like, boom, he throws that at the president, throws that at Raila. So the supporters of Raila and some of the supporters of President Uhuru may not necessarily have a lot of sympathy with William because they may dislike his style of politics, which for me, I think that's how William is and that's what he will do. Madam Alice has said we need to have a clear legal mechanism where you have public hearings, then you bring the document which has been drafted, then it's presented. Most probably, the section of it may go to Parliament. Other people are saying, let's have a referendum. There's an issue about IEBC, which all of us know. It is a big problem. It's actually, for me, it is the elephant in the house because the whole issue between what happened to President Uhuru and Jubilee and what happened to NASA and Raila is about elections. And yet the BBI has not quite come out to say, do we disband the IEBC? How do we handle it? Of course, they have made recommendations about political parties going to select and bring members who are going to be part. The last point, the reason why you find a lot of antagonism to the people who, for example, those who are in Kakamega, is that the deputy president is constantly attacking the BBI. In fact, many people of goodwill who support him wish that he could actually come out and say, listen, yes, we agree with the BBI. Yes, I wish, in other words, many people wish the deputy president could extend an olive branch to the president and to Raila and all the other people he considers to be his antagonists so that we can move in a direction whereby the country seems to be moving in the same direction. But again, politics in Kenya, and again, Professor Nyong'o has said, politics is always controversial, politics is confrontational, and maybe that's where we are as a country. And I think BBI is going to have to sort out whether we go where we are agreeing with consensus, or whether we are going to go for the winner takes it all.
So can we change the name BBI?
can I say
Building
something?
Just a moment,
bridges.
let's,
Can we change the name, Dibar?
To what?
Can I say?
BBI cannot be, the way it is now, cannot be Building Bridges Initiative.
Right, just a moment,
Can
just
I
hold on
just
to
say
that thought.
something?
We hear from Prof, then we'll come to you.
Can I say
briefly.
something?
Alice.
I think Article 21 of the BBI says very clearly that when this document comes out, it should be subjected to public debate. The BBI itself demanded that it should be subjected to public debate so that the committee can hear more about, because they said, no, we are not the alpha and omega of proposing reforms for Kenyans. We have just come with a raft of proposals which we want to submit to public debate, which I think was very honest. That's what's going on. Secondly, I think the kind of legal document that Alice is proposing is good, but it should come at the end of the debate. It's from the debate, because usually government functions this way. You come up with a policy document. Like when I was Minister for Planning, we came out with a political document, Economic Strategy for Wealth and Employment Creation.
Yes.
On that, then other legal documents come, Acts of Parliament and so on, that is implementing this 5-year proposal. Okay. And let me say one last thing. You know, Lenin once said a very interesting thing, and I will quote him. A society can be ripe for a revolution, but when there are no revolutionary to deliver that revolution, that society can enter into a process of decay. And that process of decay can continue for decades and decades. You see what I mean? Mm-hmm. Now, in 2002, or just before 2002 elections, Kenya was ripe for a revolution. And Kenyans elected in large numbers a reform government which was expected to deliver. And indeed we started very well. But along the line there were disagreements. Then came the elections. And then society, sambaratika. And so that process of revolution now does not have revolutionaries to deliver it. You have, as we call it, political entrepreneurs in government most of the time. Now the BBI said, look, this process cannot go on. Let us discuss and find out how we can get a team in government that can deliver that revolution. Now again, revolution do abort. And it may abort. And what I'm saying is that Kenyans of goodwill and who have been in the struggle for a long time must realize that every moment offers certain opportunities for change. Seize that the moment, as Julius Caesar says, then you can go somewhere. Lost, you enter into a sea of turmoil and you can sink. So I think that the proposal of the BBI should not be taken lightly. And the fact that the BBI said, let us discuss it in public, let us take this opportunity. I mean, these bantams going on is very unfortunate for me. Yeah. But I want to be honest with the document, and I want to be honest with our history, that we have lost opportunities for revolution. Although revolutionaries were there, they didn't seize the moment for all kinds of reasons. And maybe we may not seize the moment again because we are entering the political crisis and confusion and uncertainty. People are uncertain because people are proposing all kinds of things, attacking all kinds of fellows. Yes. And you don't see any coherence in the political atmosphere. It must be, that coherence must be there so that we can produce a kind of legal document Alice is talking about, right, which can encapsulate what is being proposed into a constitution that can deliver Kenyans.
All right, thank you. Back to that particular editorial cartoon, because I think before we took a short break, I'd asked you about the president and him being particularly intent on using the governors. You had a meeting on Thursday, and you've confirmed that you weren't there, but the meeting was held. But why is the president particularly intent on the governors, especially to steamroll the BBI? We've seen him pick from Central Region. We have Francis Kimemia, we have Hassan Joho in Mombasa, we have Ongai in Kisii, we have Korane, in the Northern Rift as well. Could we just talk about this first of all? Is the president, has he lost, hope with the members of parliament?
I don't think so. I think you might understand that there's something called county governments, where there are governors. And in those county governments, there are MCAs, MPs, senators, and so on. So the center of machinani politics is really the governor. So the governors have been called to help mobilize or conduct this debate. And that's why leaders' meetings are called. governors realized, no, we cannot do it our own. When we met, we chose Ongwae as our chairman. The president didn't choose him. So when there was this meeting in Mombasa, we decided to send Ongwae rather than all of us going there. It's expensive and so on. And we had just come from our summit, Lake Region Economic, but the other things we're doing. And Ongwae, because we had now finished ours, he could go and advise others what experience we had with ours.
Thank you.
So I think governors are only there to deliver the vehicle for public participation. Governors are not there to take over the BBI process. No.
Right.
Alice. You know, Dibar, when we were talking about the BBI report, and when it came out, notwithstanding the mismanagement that was there, including even the bombers' mismanagement, there were voices that said that there are those parts of the report that can be implemented by the government. You know, say the executive. That means it would include even the county governments and the national government. There were those areas of that report, if you look at it, that can be implemented by civil society, religious groups, you know, Kenyans from different sectors. Of course, there are those that can be done immediately, which have nothing to do with constitutional changes. There are also those that require Parliament to deliberate and then come up with the legal frameworks. And I'm saying for all these groups, sectorial, you know, teams to find their place legally in an orderly manner, then, Professor, I think, because you are saying, let's first have this debate, those should be guided by the law so that we don't fight. Because politicians, if they get into the field, they will fight. But if the law that we come up with says, this is the role of Parliament in this particular exercise, this is the role of the executive, so because they will also be the executive will be providing the funding, you know, through Parliament, so that we are also not having these accusations that, you know, money is being misused to to do, you know, to push other people's agenda. There will be those, then you'll be able to say the civil society will maybe carry out the civic education together with our teams in the, you know, in the national government teams at the grassroots. So Dibar, whether we like it or not, this thing is wrong, this thing will not work. Divisions, because you can imagine parallel campaigns that are guided by politicians without any legal framework. It will be disarray, it will be confusion, it will come back to the same position that the president and the Right Honorable Raila Odinga wanted to cure. Winner takes it all. Because then it will mean those people who are being supported by the state machinery, they will trample on others, they will do what they did in Western Kenya, so that they win against the weak ones who don't have the state machinery. And therefore, when people sit here and conclude that William Ruto is the underdog in this thing, I think it is not William Ruto.
Thank you.
This document is about Kenyans.
Let's conclude with that.
It's about Kenyans. Dibar, you haven't taken that point. It's not about William Ruto. It is about Kenyans.
Right.
Yes, because we were told we want to include Kenyans in this process. We want, by end of it all, then to have a nation that is cohesive, a nation that is inclusive, a nation that is, you know, prosperity is shared
Point
by
taken.
all of us.
Point
Thank
taken.
you. Yeah.
Thank you, Alice. Let's hear from Isaac.
Yeah, you know, there's something called subterfuge. So BBI is just subterfuge. It's just a small screen. You know, it's just some confusion. So that you are told we are going left, but in actual sense we are going right. That is what BBI is. And by the way, is it 10 billion shillings used also? If it is 10 billion shillings, this is a true blue band initiative. I mean, it's because people are eating pork here, really. Because how can you justify 10 billion for town hall meetings, you know? I wonder how much Bukungu spent. So I think...
That is not true.
No, I'm asking...
That is not true.
I am asking those kind of questions.
That is not true.
Because by the end of the day, we need to know the budget of BBI, really.
So I'm in the budget committee, I'll tell you.
Basically...
How can you be in a budget committee
basically,
without a legal framework?
Basically,
No, but you
even
can't
when you
ask
look
the
at the
question,
issue...
then you
Can
answer
Let him finish first.
Can I prosecute my case?
Please go ahead.
Even when you look at the whole idea now, I mean, let's just not stop pretending and say, sasa ni kushindana siasa. Because I think both sides, even William Ruto's side, is using state resources. Because when he uses his deputy president's position to bankroll his, or rather to foot the bills for his meetings, it is still government. So hii serikali sasa imekuwa ni kama kila mtu aruke na yake. And that is not right. It's not really right. Eh?
Thank you, Isaac. Abdullahi also maybe is asking.
Did I just finish? Anyway.
You've not finished. Abdullahi Basho is asking, we have lost 29 billion shillings. This is what we should discuss. BBI used 10 billion shillings. Theft on public is happening in every department.
29 is for SGR, I think.
Yeah, for the SGR. And then we have Osman Forde saying, Ruto and his Tanga team are now realizing that the BBI thing will go through, with or without the support. Anything that unites and moves this country forward is welcome. Hashtag BBI is unstartable. Also, we have Salim Thomas saying, did Manyora make a call to Khalwale asking him to join Mudavadi and Wetangula? Let him expound on that. Yeah, I think from the beginning. Did you?
I asked him.
Gogni, right, is saying there is nothing wrong for the BBI advocates or to champion for 1 point of the 9 points agenda that needs to be implemented. Also, we have Obunga Apamo saying BBI is all about 2022. I agree with William Ruto on this one. Kenyans don't have access to the document. Instead, we are calling political rallies to further polarize, I should say, the country. This is what he thinks. Then we have Abdullahi Basho saying our problem as a country is greed. BBI or any other initiative will not make any difference. Has the constitution been implemented as envisaged by Kenyans? Kenyans are accomplices in every drama. BBI is a scam. Few individuals want power and access to resources. This is what Abdullahi Basho thinks. I'll be remiss if we don't wind up the show also by and discuss a bit of what is happening at the University of Nairobi currently. Maybe Haman Manyora, you will tell us and give us a brief of what is happening currently. This
we must first
tug of war.
We must respect our viewers. One of them has said whether I made a call to Khalwale. Khalwale gave a tweet that has really elicited a lot of response. My Twitter is even on fire. He said, to his amusement or bemusement, I made a call to him asking him to join Wetangula and Mudavadi at Buhungu. It is true I called him. I also talked to Mudavadi and told them, look here, this BBI thing is the thing now. And this Kakamega rally will make or break you people. Be there. My thinking was they should have been part of the planning. So that they will be, like I've said before, they will be part of the whole thing. And then they will make their statement. Yeah. I even said in a video, I think I said, you can even tell people like Raila, you are a visitor here. Mukai muske wa Luya wanasema nini. Just take a bottle of water as Luya's talk, because this is a Luya thing. Now, they didn't do that. My friend Mudavadi and Wetangula did it, came in a bit late. So, the winner then became Raila Odinga from Buhungu Stadium. The winner became then Atoli, who now emerged the undisputed Luya spokesman and something like that. The winner became some of these young politicians, the Osozis, you see the Malalas, those are now the winners. They emerged the winners. Yet, if they had listened to me, they would have been part of the thing. You get? Yes. Now, to the University of Nairobi, I'm a very small person. I cannot talk about the University of Nairobi. These are my bosses. Magoha is my boss. Kiama, the rest, all these are my big... But I can say this. This move to have the Public Service Commission appoint vice chancellors, to me, is not the right way to go. I suggest, like some universities do in the world, those who want to become vice chancellor, when that office is vacant, should make an application to the University of Nairobi community, for example. I want Anyang' Nyong'o to come to Taifa Hall and tell us why he wants to be the vice chancellor of the University of Nairobi. As we listen, let me tell you, if we went that way, you won't get 5 people applying for the job. 5. If you reach 5, I'll look for $1 million I give you. There will not be 5. Come and tell us why you think you want to lead. You see, these processes are making the University of Nairobi be just like any other university, like Kabianga or... No. This is supposed to be the university.
Thank you. Is a serious university.
So, no, what I'm saying, the University of Nairobi is supposed to be seeded. A university beyond these others for benchmarking. These others are supposed to, So when you take the University of Nairobi through such, it is...
Right, thank you.
I can't say more than
you.
that.
Very point. Let's just, your headline thoughts, please, as we're winding up.
My
Briefly,
honest...
30 seconds.
Yes, my honest feeling is that when you listen to the news from the underground, money exchanged hands, the recruitment which took place was not fair as it was expected. I'm told some commissioners actually received quite a sum of money without mentioning the names and the figures. It is unfortunate. University of Nairobi is where I went to school. It's one of the best institutions in East and Central Africa. It's an embarrassment to have it being where it is now.
Thank you.
But again, I would rather I look at what the politics is all about. There's something going on that is not normal.
Thank you, Prof. Your headline thoughts, briefly?
I agree with Professor Manyora. The choice of the Vice Chancellor of the University of Nairobi should not the business of Public Service Commission. Secondly, the University of Nairobi is a state university. We have many state universities. When I was at Makerere, Makerere University was a state university. And when it was changing from being a college of the University of East Africa to a university on its own, Apollo Milton Obote appointed Frank Kalimzo as the Vice Chancellor. But through a process that was very competent, he consulted widely among the academia and the elites in society. Yes. Because Makerere is the thing in Uganda. And he was advised to appoint Frank Kalimzo, who became a very successful vice-chancellor after that. The University of Nairobi, as a state university, premier university, while the council must have the say, the council can submit 3 names also to the head of state and appoint. But Kenya has changed. You no longer you no longer as head of the state a chancellor. You have chancellors. So the chancellor of the University of Nairobi should be the last voice in appointing the vice chancellor of the university through a consultative process like Manyara is talking about. That will make it absolutely clear that is the first among equals, the man who becomes the vice chancellor.
Thank you. Alice Wahome, your closing remarks briefly.
When you look at what is being reported, because maybe we don't have the real inside story, I think there is, for me, and Nairobi University is also my university, I find that there is something that is stinking, and even the manner in which the Minister for Education came up, you know, sacking one person and then appointing an acting person. I think there is also an ethnicity card that he's playing around there.
You think so?
And even the council, within the council, there could be an ethnicity card that now is, yes. This. Don't worry. You know, when I say
let him have,
yes. You need to read between the lines about the way they are playing with the names. Look at the person they are replacing and the person they are removing. I think it is wrong. We need a clear process, again, guided by the law, and the council must be allowed to do its job.
That's your opinion, yeah. Alice. Thank you. Let's hear from Isaac.
You know, we are 5 panelists today, and 4 of them have an association with University of Nairobi. I don't. I am from big Kenyatta University, and I'm very proud of that fact. And I think when I heard Professor Manyora saying that the University of Nairobi community, I remember of Nairobi community in terms of the politics of the university. I think the University of Nairobi has sunk very low. Yeah. And you cannot dismiss what Alice is saying in terms of the tribalism, because you can see people have entitlements to certain universities. You remember Isaac Meli demonstrating in Eldoret against a professor who was a lawyer. And you see now how people... So we need to remove the village mentality in universities. Universities cannot be enclaves of tribal, so that you say only certain communities can occupy. But we are very proud of other universities, the Kenyatta University and others like Kabianga, because we are taking over when UN is going down.
Right, thank you very much. Right, okay.